she's called me before from the classroom in there with him because she said, you know, mommy, Mr. Such and Such told me to call you. So I was like, he told you to call me? She was like, yeah, like, I really don't want to give him my cell phone because I'm really serious about this corona and this pandemic. So that's why, to have somebody this close to her yelling at her, and then the next day we got somebody touching her, like, are we practicing the 6 feet social distancing? We can't be, because 6 feet is too far for someone to have connected with her. And I know for sure that we weren't practicing 6 feet because I witnessed it with my own eyes. When I tell you the lady was this close to her, screaming in her face.
Thank you for tuning in to Teaching for the Culture. This is your host, Bianca Goolsby, and I'm excited to be with you today. Today, we have a parent who went to social media to talk about some of the situations that she witnessed with her child, and I wanted to bring her on for an interview so that she can talk to the community about what's happening and what she would like done about this situation. So, hey, Alexis, how are you?
Hi, Bianca. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, it is a pleasure. And hey, Genesis, how are you doing today? So I just wanted to open the platform, give you a safe space, and kind of explain what happened.
Did you want to hear it from me, or would you like for her to tell what happened?
It doesn't matter.
You want to tell them, or you want me to tell them? Okay, Genesis is very shy and quiet, so I'm going to explain what happened. Monday, she texted me to tell me that there was an incident occurring at school in which there was another little girl that she's friends with that had an argument with another child. And of course, with her being friends with the individual, she kind of was guilty by association. But because she is the kind of child that doesn't get in trouble, when she had to be called to go to student affairs, the first thing she did was pull out her phone and start texting me to let me know what was going on, because she was just afraid and she didn't know what was going to happen. So then she ended up sending me a message throughout the conversation to say that they took her phone because she has an Apple Watch and you can still text on the watch. So at that point, I kind of got alarmed and was saying, you know, if it's gotten to the point that we've had to remove her phone and you still haven't called me, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, because I feel like somewhere in there, I should have been brought into whatever was going on if we felt like taking her phone away was the next step. So when I got to the school, I sent her a text message to her watch to let her know, you know, hey, mommy's in the office. So she called me from her Apple Watch, and I couldn't really hear her because, of course, the reception on the watch is not the same thing quality as the phone. But I did hear a lot of commotion and yelling and things like that. And of course, she had just discussed with me that there was a individual and someone saying, you know, they wanted to fight her friend. So at that point, I was just panicking. I didn't know if somebody was back there jumping on her or what, because I just heard yelling and screaming. So I asked the lady in the office, I said, listen, can you please get up? I'm on her iPhone. I hear a lot of commotion. I don't know what's going on. Can you please get up and go let them know I'm out here so we can get her and I can see what's going on? So she got up, she went down the hallway. Not even 2 seconds later, I hear someone just screaming at the top of their voice, I told you not to call your mama. Now you got your mother running up here thinking that somebody up here doing something to you, just like completely screaming. So I reached over and unlocked the little, it's like a half a door in the office. So I unlocked it and walked down the hallway towards the screaming. And I walked up on the lady in the student advisor's office face to face with my daughter, completely just screaming in her face. So I, in tune, went and I grabbed my child. I moved her back and I took her place because I am an equal match to the adult that was yelling at her. And, you know, the lady told me things that, you know, you ain't got no right to run up on me like this. But the biggest concern to me was the principal, the school security. Everyone was just standing there. Nobody at any time tried to alleviate the situation until they saw that I was getting aggressive. No one told their employee, like, hey, Miss Such and Such, you need to calm down. Miss Such and Such, you need to do this. So then that was that. I went into the conference room with the principal. He told me, you know, I'll back you in any way I can, whatever kind of charges, because I let it be known I am going to contact the school board about this, because that's not acceptable. I don't even yell at my children like that. So no one else is going to yell at them like that. So he said, you know, whatever decision you make, I'll back you fully. He provided me this individual's name. He told me who I needed to follow up with and everything. So then I was fine with that. Everything's fine. on Tuesday, she texted me to tell me that her teacher won't let her in the classroom. So I said, what do you mean he won't let you in the classroom? So I said, well, go to the office to let them know what's going on. And then, just keep me in the wind of it. So she went to the office. She said the office in Tune told her to go back to class. So this is where you need to remind me if I'm saying it right. So she said she went back to class and she was still trying to get into the classroom. And from the outside of the classroom, she heard the teacher tell her that she was stupid and crazy. Is that when that happened? So then she finally gets in the classroom. He asked her to remove her hoodie. So she still has her book bag on. So with removing her hoodie, that's going to cause the hood to lay on top of the book bag. So she had removed it from her head, but the hood was laying on top of the book bag. So she sat down, and she placed her belongings down beside her desk, and she said that the teacher came by and mushed her in her forehead and walked past her. She said, please don't touch me. And the teacher said something along the lines of, well, maybe you should listen better, and kicked her book bag. And she texted me and told me what happened. And I told her, go to the office. I'm on my way. So that's the scenario in the situation. I have contacted Temple Terrace Police Department, in which they have told me that it is not enough sufficient evidence for them to pursue the battery charge because the only witness we have is her friend. So therefore, with it being her friend, when I spoke to the principal the next day, he said that the teacher admitted to touching her or taking her hood off. And then he also told me that the little girl who is her friend said the same thing, that the teacher just took her hood off, and what Genesis is saying false. But the little girl's mother told her daughter to take a picture of her statement before she turned it into them. Her statement did not reflect what the principal told me. Her statement said that Genesis's hood was off, and the teacher still looked like he pushed her in her head. And then the next thing I know, I heard Genesis scream, please don't touch me. So this is where I was at the school today because no one's calling me back. And I chose to take it to social media because I felt like the people that I'm calling, I'm not getting the responses from it that I would. But I mean, maybe I just feel oversensitive because it's my child. But I've been in education before, so I would never place my hands on anybody's child. And the biggest thing that I've tried to say to the administration, if Genesis is a troublemaker, you need to let me know that, because as her disciplinary, I will take care of it. But if I've never gotten a phone call to say that she's up here acting up, how are we at this position right now?
Wow. So I just can't even. So the district and the particular school that Genesis goes to, they have not been transparent with you about the situation. In fact, what I'm hearing is that they weren't even being truthful with the investigation, and they lied.
It seems as though the teacher is getting more protection than she is. Because even with the police department, he declined to speak to the police when they came yesterday to interview him because he didn't have a union rep. So from there, they gave me a form that I am to send to the attorney general, and that I have to send it in 10 days for the attorney general to decide if they are going to pursue charges or not. And even on the form, it says that she didn't remove her hood, which is not a truthful statement. She made I heard her tell the police officer I took my hood off. So when I called today to say, hey, this form says this, I kind of don't want to send it to the attorney general like this, because they might look at it and say, well, she didn't take the hood off. The teacher took the hood off. But if that's not true and that's not what's happening, I need these forms to reflect what she said. You're not getting her story right if you're not putting the words in there that came directly out of her mouth. And we're not going to get justice for it that way if we keep painting her as a disobedient child when she followed instructions and was still someone committed battery. So that's not fair. And even with her, she's even told me, like, Mom, you told me if I did my work, I listened, I was respectful, things like this wouldn't happen. But it still just feels like they're targeting me, and I don't understand.
Yeah. So Genesis, how do you feel about this entire situation, and what would you like to happen?
Upset, and like I didn't really appreciate it. And I don't really want him to be at the school because I don't want to leave the school. But at the same time, I don't want to be around the teacher.
So is this a particular teacher that you have once a day, or is this like, are you able to switch your classes to be away from that teacher?
I'm able to switch my classes next semester because that was an elective class.
She's pretty much done with the teacher. But the biggest thing to me today when I went to the school, because I can't get anybody to call me back, as I'm sitting in the school waiting for the principal and the assistant principal, the teacher that was in her face hollering face to face, I heard her down the hallway hollering at somebody else's kid. So when he gets in there, I'm asking him, like, so what was done about this? Because he was like, oh, she was reprimanded and everything. She was disciplined, all of that. Well, obviously she didn't take it too seriously because she ended up hollering at somebody else's child 4 days later. The teacher within herself, there was another little boy. She came home from school and told me that he held this little boy's wrist, removed his gloves from his hand, and threw them on top of the roof. So she came home from school and told me that one day. And I said, well, Genesis, I'm not this little boy's mama, so it's not really a whole lot that I can do about that situation. But you just continue to talk to mommy, and if he ever touches you, you let mommy know. So you fast forward a week and a half later, it's her. So he's going to continue. And I'm trying my hardest to find this little boy because his parents, they can't know about this because there is no way that, and even with the school administration, I mentioned it to them twice to say, hey, she told me this story. I have a video of the teacher removing the hood off of another child. So it shows two things. It shows that he is touching kids. And it also shows that he knows how to take a hood off the back of a child's head with his fingers like this. So therefore, his face or his hand should have never connected with my child's face like this if he's claiming to be taking her hood off.
Yeah. So what would you like the district to do about this? Because I am just completely sorry. And I'm sorry that this happened to you, Genesis, because I know that this doesn't make you feel good. And I definitely want to make sure that people are aware of this and so that people are held accountable. What would you like for that teacher to have to do because of the impact that you felt?
I personally think that he needs to be fired. And I think that criminal charges for the battery is what was written on the paper. I'm going to pull for that as hard as I can because the teacher within itself, I have a very good relationship with my child. She's called me before from the classroom in there with him because she said, mommy, Mr. Such and Such told me to call you. So I was like, he told you to call me. She was like, yeah, like I really don't want to give him my cell phone because I'm really serious about this corona and this pandemic. So that's why to have somebody this close to her yelling at her, and then the next day we got somebody touching her, like, are we practicing the 6 feet social distancing? We can't be because 6 feet is too far for someone to have connected with her. And I know for sure that we weren't practicing 6 feet because I witnessed it with my own eyes. When I tell you the lady was this close to her screaming in her face. And so she was standing there and she was just like, I could look at her and tell she wanted to cry. But when she looked up and she saw me, she had like this, oh, thank God, because she knew mama was coming. And I want the school to stand up for these kids. If y'all are supposed to be an advocate, the first time that I told you that he's touched my child, then now I have another story to tell you that he touched another child. And guess what? She hasn't been to school since the incident happened, but he's been there every day freely to teach and touch other people's children. So unless other parents find out, they're going to sweep it under the rug. And I am determined not to let that happen because she will not feel like I did not fight for her. Whether I win or have justice or anything, I am going to push it to the very end until the last door closes and they tell me there's absolutely nothing you can do. But I will not stop trying until my baby's story is heard because she did not deserve that.
Well, I am with you. And I am with you and Genesis and making sure that there's accountability. And I just appreciate the both of you using your voice and talking about this because you're right. There's a lot of teachers that should not be in the classroom teaching our children and should not be up close to our children. In fact, especially during a global pandemic. And you brought up a good point about COVID-19. It's a real thing. And there's cases that are happening in many of our campuses. So it's not safe to be up in a child's face, yet alone screaming, and it might have projectiles of spit or whatever else have you that will hit the child and infect them. Yeah.
So she did. Now she had a mask on, didn't she? She didn't have a mask. Genesis had her mask on. So I am teaching them to keep their mask on, because as I'm seeing, with the videos and with it being a cell phone time, these kids are really smart, because some of these videos, text message conversations I've been able to get from parents. So there's definitely a paper trail to show that something is going on for the administration to just be looking at it. Like I said, the assistant principal, yesterday after the social media post, people started calling the school. So he reached out to me to tell me this is the first time that he's heard anything of the incident. It's been 48 hours at this point. How have you not heard that a teacher committed battery at your school as the assistant principal? Do you mean to tell me y'all haven't had some kind of meeting or something at this point to discuss what we're going to do? Like, they're taking it like it's not serious, I guess, because she doesn't have any bruises, or they didn't break any bones. But for me, she was assaulted. If I'm raising my child, that no man is to ever put their hands on you, whether it was something this small or something like this, we can't okay this.
Yeah, you're right. We can't. And so we need accountability. And so I'm looking to you, district, to answer this parent's concern with accountability, transparency, and integrity, and to look at what can we do about the educator and to see how long he's been an educator. And the unfortunate part of some educators is that they're tenured, meaning that they have been in the system for so long that their job is somewhat protected. And it allows them to continue to work in the school system regardless of what happens in some cases. And so that's something that we will need to look into to ensure that he can be held accountable. And what are some of those steps for that educator to be held accountable? Because that is not right to put your hands on a young queen, period.
Because I remember one conversation where she called me on her cell phone. I heard him in the back screaming, "I've been a teacher for 25 years. I retired. I don't have to be out here. And like, this is my sixth grader and she's 12 years old. Why are you in a classroom having a conversation like this with these kids?" And he's not a full-time teacher. He doesn't come to work until 1:00 in the afternoon. So he's only there for 2 periods. So replacing him can be done with a substitute.
We're going to definitely look into this. And I just thank y'all both for taking the opportunity to speak. And I just want to just close the floor with you guys. Is there any last thing that you want to tell the community and how the community can support y'all?
You want to say anything? Just continue to share anything that I post on social media. I'm going to keep you guys updated, because it seems as though they're trying to keep it quiet. So as long as you guys continue to share and get it out there, they can't silence all of us. And I appreciate all the support to let my baby know that there are other people standing with her, because sometimes she just feels, if it's just mommy, maybe nobody else cares. But I have shown her everybody that has shared the post, all the nice things you have said to her, and we really appreciate it, and continue to pull for my baby, because she did not deserve this, and no child deserves it.
Absolutely. We are rooting for you, Genesis. You are loved, and there's people that are supporting you and are standing with you. So I don't want you to feel like you are alone, okay? And just thank y'all again for tuning in to Teaching for the Culture. And I will link Alexis' social media profile so that way you're able to follow her. And thank y'all for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next episode.